Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Masks Off. I'm Kim.
And I'm Tia.
And today we have another guest with us. We have Bendtzen. So excited to have this conversation. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this really fun, creative background that Megan has. And she's going to talk more about that as we have our conversation. But as always, I'm going to begin with the quote, which is actually a quote from Megan. So the quote is, celebrate your victories and also celebrate your stumbles, because if you are learning and growing, those are your biggest victories of all. As long as we are learning, we are winning. There is no such thing as failure unless we fail to keep going. So welcome, Megan. We're so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank
you. You're welcome. So if you would like to share with the listeners and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Absolutely. And thank you for that introduction and for that quote, because it is such a reminder. Like, I can remember exactly when I adopted that philosophy, and it was probably not long ago, about 6 or 7 years ago. I had taken a series of personal growth classes and then decided to take myself on a trip around the world.
Wow.
And I went by myself.
Oh, wow. I love it. I can't wait to hear more.
I was single at the time, and I was in my early 40s. So, anybody that is still single in their early 40s might agree with me that you are always on the lookout for Mr. Right. And I just had this almost desperation, and it was, not a good place to be. But I remember taking this trip and doing things that I never imagined that I would have done, prior to taking these personal growth classes and, just kind of stepping into my own. And I remember coming back from that trip and telling myself, I am going to be single forever. Like, I finally embraced my singledom. And, not even 30 days later, I met this guy who, ironically, I had crossed paths with hundreds of times before. He was in my life as a friend and a colleague. But it was all timing. And, when you look for so long, you just know when it's right. And it was right. And we have often talked about our relationship and why we didn't meet sooner. And we're so grateful that we didn't, because I had to kiss all those frogs to meet my prince. It never would have worked out. We both had so much growing up to do. But the thing that brought us together was that when we finally crossed paths, because we had been in each other's lives so much previously, it was, oh, that's just Jeff. And I was myself.
Oh,
I wasn't trying to impress anybody. I was just having fun, and I was just being myself. I wasn't wearing a mask. We talk about
that's awesome.
Masks that we wear. And he was the same. It was the same thing for him. And it was actually New Year's Eve. And so we were both looking around, who are we going to kiss at midnight? We happened to be all together at this event. But anyway, that's where our story began. And so when I think about that quote and all of the times that I look back on my life and look at the times when, I've made mistakes, those are the most pivotal moments of my life. And I think we can probably all agree that that's when you pick yourself up, when you step forward with a new perspective and a new lease on life. And so I love that. That was a long explanation to what that means to me.
I'm so glad you explained that though, and brought in the story about how you met Jeff, and it's perfect because like you said, I'm gathering from what you said that before Jeff, all those other guys, maybe you were wearing a mask, you weren't putting your most truest self forward. And that's maybe why it just didn't click until you finally were like, okay, I'm going to be myself. And then, you and Jeff met each other. I love that.
Absolutely. I mean, that is exactly it. And when I look at the history of guys I've dated, it was like they were all the same guy.
Isn't that funny too?
To a degree, but
Yeah.
there I was twisting and contorting my own self to fit into their picture, and
Yeah.
just doesn't work.
It's so empowering to hear.
Absolutely. So how did that, or, how did you lead into what you do for your work, and why you have such a fun, creative background? Because it has something to
Yes,
do with,
I know. It's
With-
like, let's put these pieces together.
put the pieces
Okay.
together.
And for those of you listening who are listening on a podcast, you can also pop onto YouTube and you can see her
Yes.
background if you're curious of what we're talking about.
Yes.
Yes. So, okay. I have always worked in corporate jobs, which is so ironic because I'm kind of like an anti-rules girl. And when you work in corporate, there's a lot of rules. And so I found myself years into various corporate jobs unhappy, burnt out, stressed out, overwhelmed. I know a lot of people today can relate to this. There is so much burnout going on right now, and just overwhelm. But I think what happens is we, for lack of a better term, we put these masks on to fit in, to live up to the expectations, to try to be perfect in our jobs. And that's the fastest way to burn out. And that is the fastest way to find yourself just stuck and going through the motions and just, punching in, punching out, and just getting through. And so for me, for a long time, I would kind of try to go against the grain and just inject a little bit of me. And I always found myself in trouble.
Give us one example. Give us an example, because I think we're just going to get a good laugh at it.
Oh,
if you
man.
can think of one. If not, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they weren't always good stories because I would get a talking to from from management a lot in corporate. Okay. And I finally had a manager that we were so opposite, but he appreciated who I was, and he was new. And so he just kind of loosened the reins a little bit and decided to sort of let me be me. But when I told him what my plan was for a dinner meeting that we were about to have, he was just like, what? Wait a minute. And I can recall this in other jobs as well. I'd be in charge of putting on events or putting on client, networking events, dinner meetings, trainings, educational product trainings. And I would just notice that people would be checked out. They'd be on their phones. They wouldn't be paying attention. And here we paid a lot of money to bring in some speaker or to put some meeting together. And so I wanted to find ways to spice things up. And so I would add in fun little games or little contests or crazy, like I'd bring these giant like Mickey Mouse hands and say, okay, you've got to sign in or complete this task with these giant Mickey Mouse hands. Or or the opposite. Have you guys ever seen the tiny hands? I wish I had them.
I know what you're
tiny
talking
ones.
about.
Or give people just like a giant pen to sign in. Anything that would just kind of make people laugh, be out of the norm. And, this would always sort of just break the ice for people and get people mingling and laughing and remember what they just learned or what you just presented. And, so eventually my manager came to appreciate. He saw the effect and the impact that it would have on attendees and how people, it was like, it was my signature. It became my signature. It's like, oh, Megan's putting on an event. We're coming. We don't even care what the topic is, we want to be there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just adding a twist of fun. So fast forward to 14 years of being in this job, putting on the mask, taking the mask off, putting on the mask, taking the mask off, because again, you're still in, well, for me, I was still in corporate. There's still a lot of rules. So at my events, I was lucky enough to be able to incorporate the fun, but that sort of woke me up to, okay, wait a minute, there's something bigger that we need here. Like, I think a lot of other people can benefit from this. And so a year and a half ago, I walked away from my corporate career of 14 years. I was at a Fortune 100 company. I had moved up. I was, playing their game, for lack of a better term. And I could have stayed, but I started doing this other stuff on the side, and it just brought me alive. And so I had to choose. It was like, do I step off this cliff and walk away from all this stability and tenure and benefits and all of this, safety net, or do I take a chance on me? And so I took the leap.
I love the, do I take a chance on me? That's such a really powerful question. And you did.
And I feel like I'm still building my parachute. Like, I jumped off the cliff and I'm building my parachute on the way down.
Love that.
I'm still figuring it out. And that again goes back to that celebrate your stumbles, because I don't have this all figured out, but I do know one thing. I know that I have a gift of injecting fun. I know that I make events memorable. I know that that's what people look to me for help with. And if I can somehow help the corporate environment and the corporate mindset to bring back fun to the workplace, there are so many benefits. I mean, not only does the business benefit, because profitability goes up, productivity goes up, absenteeism goes down, people stay at jobs longer when they're having a good time. But not only that, the benefit to the human, to the person, their mental wellness, they're happier. So that's my mission.
Love that.
So I know, I love that too. So let's talk about, I want to do two things, but back up to the statement you just made. Do I take a chance on me? And Tia said, oh, I love that. And I love that too. Let's imagine for a moment that you knew inside you that there is this opportunity to take this leap, jump off the cliff and do something else, but you didn't follow your heart and you didn't do it. What would that do for you? Like, how would that make you feel inside? How would that affect your overall well-being, knowing that your true mission was to do this over here, but you didn't for some reason?
Kim, I don't have to pretend at all, because I feel like the first 47 years of my life, that's the choice I made. I didn't take a chance on me. I knew, I feel like I have always known that I was meant for something, but I didn't know what. And so I just kept laying low, sitting on the sidelines, doing what I thought other people wanted me to do, never brave enough to actually take that chance, sick with imposter syndrome, and feeling like if I ever did something like that, well, why would anybody want to listen to what I think,
Yeah.
And it really reached a point, because, and I don't know if you want to call it a midlife crisis, but you can only sit on the sidelines so long. And I mean, I want to get to the end of my life and look back and feel fulfilled and proud and happy with what I've accomplished. And I remember reading a quote and it just horrified me. And it was something along the lines, I'm probably going to mess this up, but it's like, on the last day of your life, you meet the person you could have become.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, talk about a stab at the
chills.
heart. So I have enough regret.
Mm.
So for me, it was like, I can't keep putting this off. I've got to make this leap. You know, no matter how long it takes me to figure this out, whether I crash and burn, I can always go get another job. But I have got to do this because I can't keep not doing it. So
I love that response. And I'm sure there are so many that hear you, feel you. I know I do. I can relate 100% with what you're saying. So do you remember, were there certain steps that you took to finally get past that point? Or do you remember something that you said to yourself that helped you to pivot so that you said, no more of being the imposter, no more, I'm going to do this now? Can you walk us through that for someone who might be like right on the fence or on the cusp and thinking to do what you did?
yeah, there were 3 things actually. Well, aside from, I had taken a lot of personal growth classes. Okay, I'm kind of a personal growth junkie. So
You're in
that
good
was sort
company.
of that was like the foundation. Okay, and I think that that is so important, and that is, it's not one of the 3 things I was just going to mention, but that to me like should be an absolute given for everyone. And for some reason in society, I think we're better about this now, but for some reason it's almost frowned upon. Like if you have to go to counseling or if you're in therapy or if you do personal growth, it's really frowned upon. And I feel like this should be in schools. Like this should be something that kids should be learning, because that's where it all begins, right? All of our
Masks.
yes, the OPO is what I call other people's opinions, just so worried about what everyone else thinks, and the mask wearing. Absolutely. So that's a foundation. Okay, so I'm going to assume that that's given. You got to work on yourself. But I read a book called The Motivation Manifesto by Brendan Burchard, and I don't know if either of you have heard of him or heard of that book, but that book was like a slap across the face to me, and just kind of everything I've been talking about. That it's like, look, you're here. You get one trip. This is one life. You're going to be on the sidelines or you're going to get in the game. And so that's my motto now, because life is a game. And so get off the sidelines. You got to get in the game, and you have to play to win, because that's the other thing I've discovered, is that you have to be able to not take yourself so seriously and just laugh and enjoy what is happening. Because if we allow all of our challenges and all of the difficulties to tear us down, I mean, that's what makes it so hard to get up. But I know that, a lot of times if you look at someone that has a great life, and it's very common for people to think, oh, someday I'll have that. Someday life will just be easy, and I'll get to that point. But that is not, like, happy people work very hard to create a life of ease. And so it's all about making the right choices and choosing happiness, choosing to take those challenges and to turn them into lessons and gratitudes. And so that was the reading of the book, The Motivation Manifesto.
Yeah.
And then applying that principle of injecting joy even in the things that would normally get you down. And then following these 5 steps. I call them the 5 steps to bacon.
5 steps to bacon. I love it.
Yes. So the B stands for the brainstorm, and that's figuring out what you want, why you want it, and what gets in the way.
Mm,
And the A is accountability, because if it's to be, it's up to me.
mm,
And the C is for committed action, because you can plan and plan and plan, but if you don't start taking steps forward and stay committed to it, you're not going anywhere. And the O is for overjoyed, because you have to inject that joy and that fun into everything that you are doing. And the N is for noble acts, because you pay it forward and it brings it full circle, help one person every day, HOPE, hope. Be the best thing that happened to someone today. Yeah, you guys need some phrases. I got lots of phrases.
and it's like your joy and your enthusiasm is infectious. When you talk about that, I'm like, I love this process.
Yeah, so that's the process that I took. And my husband and I did it together, and we put flip charts all over the house for the brainstorm, and we wrote different areas of our life and what we wanted that to look like. And I mean, we took the whole process very seriously. You have to get serious about having fun.
It's a conscious choice you have to make, isn't it? Because
Yes.
otherwise, I know me personally, I can just get so caught up in my day-to-day to-do lists. Like I can take life very seriously, I'm just like very serious. So I think it's a conscious choice. And T and I in our Masks Off Facebook community, like every week we come on and we do a like body, mind, spirit, how to nourish the body, the mind, the spirit. We just recorded and just put out Nourishing the Spirit. And we talked about how you have to be intentional about bringing in laughter, because if I'm not, I can go days and weeks without like having laughter, let alone the real belly laughter we talked about, that like where you feel like you just had an ab workout.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't happen unless sometimes you really create it. Sometimes it happens spontaneously and whatnot. But
you got to plan that. I got alarms going off on my phone all day long telling me to laugh, to find something funny, to have a dance party. I've got jokes in front of me. I mean, you guys, okay, here's the thing. Why was the mushroom the life of the party? Because he was a fun guy.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
See, you gotta have fun.
It's silly, but it makes you laugh. And you're like, oh, okay, I got it.
Not only is that a cute little joke, but it's true. So be a mushroom.
Yeah.
Be a mushroom.
Everybody wants to be around the people that are okay, if you're walking down the hall and you walk by 2 rooms, okay? One room, people are serious, angry, arguing, I don't know what, maybe they're just doing a bunch of paperwork. You walk by another room and they're laughing, hard laughing, smiling. Which room do you want to go in? Who do you want to be around?
And you're more like what you experienced when you were doing your trainings, bringing that in. You got engagement, you got people wanting to come. Like you said, they found out you were creating and leading and organizing this one. And you're like, I want to go. Because the enthusiasm and the energy of your space is completely different.
It is. And the benefits I had mentioned earlier, I mean, there's a lot of data out there. And this is what's so exciting to me, because now that I have, I quit my job and I've started this new thing on my own, and it's been a little scary, but I'm so thrilled to find out that I mean, there's an epidemic failure in corporate America right now regarding employee engagement. Okay, right. Because people are burnt out, they're checked out, they're disengaged. And what companies have to gain, I mean, the stats out there, productivity can go up like 400% when employees are engaged. Wow. And absenteeism goes down, turnover goes down 41%. I mean, they're actually studying this stuff. And so I'm over here like, oh my God, this is fantastic, because I'm all about it. It's time to get serious about having fun.
So how are you bringing that in now? Like what, you left the corporate world, you're now, this is your mission, this is your vision. And how are you like bringing this into companies? Because you already were doing that. And so what is different now with you at the helm, you taking the lead and
So
bringing
I do a few different things. So I'm a speaker and I'm a motivator. So I can come in and do a training, on all different, I have leadership topics. And then I host leadership development game shows. So,
Which is
and
your background,
I can,
right?
yes, this is my game show studio. I wish this were real. I'm going to build, that's a goal of mine, is to turn, we have a couple empty rooms. We just bought this new house and I'm going to build a game show set. But yeah, leadership development game shows, because again, when you're having fun and you're learning, and I think personal growth stuff is so important for people to tap into and to learn about. So I want to make it fun for people. So I can either come in to your place of business, I can run some game shows, you can play department against department, I can input your learning material into the game show if you're wanting to do a training on your product, or company training, or we can do leadership development training topics. So, and I have a vault of ideas for how to make meetings and networking. I mean, how many boring meetings, unproductive meetings have you been to, and awkward networking events? It's like,
I have memories of those when I was back in my day as well. You just sit there and they just talk at you, and it's like, write something down. You didn't retain it. And I think of what you're talking about, like even teaching about their product or all these things, or what the company values, mission, like what is that, whatever it is they're wanting, and you bring it in a fun, playful way, they're going to retain it. Just like kids, when they learn the alphabet song, or I remember learning the 50 states in a song. That's how I still remember that song of all the states in alphabetical order, because it was
Alabama,
fun.
Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California. That is awesome.
But it seeps into our brain. I mean, that's why we remember songs from when we were, teenagers. We don't hear it for 30 years and bam, there it is. So you bring in that game and that interaction and that liveliness. I mean, the brain's got to just light up.
It does. And I'll tell you, I'm on an uphill battle. So, because corporate, for some reason, they're very stuck in the mindset of, we have to do it this way. Like, we have to administer this training, or let's do the training and then let's play a game. And it's like, that's not how it works. Okay, if you want to do that, we can do the training and then you can have fun. But go ahead and quiz people on what you just taught them, because they're probably not. I think the retention, there's a learning pyramid. Okay. And so it goes, the retention, people learn the least from hearing it in a lecture format. If they see it on like a video, it goes up a little bit. If they learn it in a game, or if they have to talk and participate, it goes up a lot. If they have to turn around and teach it, that's the highest form of retention. Right. So we're getting people to move up that learning pyramid is part of what I do when I come in to help at a company.
Well, and I imagine the science and the studies that you talked about a little earlier are at least going to hopefully help convince corporations that it's possible.
Yeah, the data's there, and it just shocks me that we still approach business from this way. And I think there's a big fear about looking unprofessional or not being taken seriously. I was just talking with a client the other day, and she wanted to teach the budget or some budgeting things to her staff. And she's like, but I feel like if we turn it into a game, they're not going to take it seriously. So I know there's a fear factor there that they're going to lose their message, or that it won't be taken seriously. And the irony is, if you present that material by just standing up there and pointing to a whiteboard or walking people through a packet, while you drone on, versus putting it into a game or a song or making whatever it is more funny and memorable. What are people going to remember?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think too, in the workforce, like the general workforce, I think there's another layer where the employer can often be shaming to the employees and create such an environment that it doesn't feel safe to make a mistake. And I'll just give you a little example of where my daughter just about 4 weeks ago got a new job at a restaurant as a host. And when she first went, she was having fun because she was meeting new people and they were engaging and so on and so forth. And she was like, this is to your point about having fun, really engaged, really excited about going to work. And then maybe a week or two in, she wasn't doing something the way they wanted it to be done, but no one taught her how to do it correctly. What they did was when she made the mistake, they called her out on it. They reprimanded her for it and belittled her for it. Instead of like, she's like, I'm new. I don't know how to do that, So when you create, and that's just one little example at a restaurant as a host or a server. And I can only imagine that this happens in a lot of the workplace where employees are afraid to even make mistakes. And then you talked about being like that, being rigid, like I got to just make sure, like white knuckling, I get everything just right and perfect because I don't want to get in trouble or the boss or so, to think about having fun come in, it would be the last thing probably on their minds.
It is such a shame to hear that because it's so common. And it goes back to that quote from the beginning about celebrating your stumbles. When you make somebody so wrong for their mistake, I mean, that does so many things because first of all, it makes people not want to do anything or are so afraid to make a mistake again. And that's where the most learning takes place, is when you make mistakes. And so you're missing out on that opportunity for teaching and learning. And you're instilling fear because people become too afraid to even make those mistakes. And that's such a golden opportunity because that's when all the growth happens. That's when all the learning happens. That's when people get better, is learning from mistakes. So that is such a shame, but it also just creates, it creates a habit. So, I mean, hopefully now in your daughter's brain, she's probably too afraid to try new things now because she's afraid of doing it wrong or making that mistake. Right. Whereas if we had taken that moment and celebrated it and turned it into a learning opportunity, then you're not so afraid to do that again. So
Exactly.
I can tell you she's not as anxious or excited to go to work as she was in the beginning because it's happened like more than once, and I'm not saying it's okay, but that is typical in the restaurant business. Cause when I was in my 20s, worked in the restaurant business and things get very busy and very hectic and managers start, whatever, yelling. It's still not okay. It's still not okay to do that. And it just creates such an environment. So I love what you're saying. And I think it is so neat. I think so much is needed to change the whole entire paradigm of the workforce. Like T and I, we've had people on about education, how the education system needs to be revamped. Well, I think so does the workforce. And so hopefully by having these kinds of shows, having people like yourself come on, where you're trying to do something innovative and creative and different and go against the traditional paradigm, that eventually will have enough shift so that things just change and we see each other as humans.
Oh, I hope so. And I feel like, we're part of that, we're part of that solution. And so it's certainly something that we all, and including your listeners, need to have a part in.
Yeah.
And so making it, I mean, we need to be the first ones to make it okay to make mistakes, to be able to laugh at ourselves, and to not take when other people make mistakes that affect us, to allow that, to, to have the grace and the patience, and to not take it as seriously either, and to realize this is, we're people, we're humans, and this isn't we're not doing heart surgery here. We're just trying to get through the day. We're trying to, we're just trying to all get along. And so I think as a society, yeah, we all have a role in that. So we can't just wait for our boss to change. People, or it's like the pay it forward thing. You see someone do
Yes.
something nice, then you want to do something nice. So we all have to
Yeah, you were
take
gonna.
that on.
Well, I just love, you brought it up, you can't wait for your boss to do this or that, and how the more we all take that responsibility and take those steps, the more the change is apt to occur, because there's going to be resistance. Anytime there's change, there's people who don't like change, right? We all know people who really don't like change, yet you continue going and trying and finding the way in. I think one of my curious questions for you would be, as you're approaching and working with people, with your bringing in more fun and the game shows and all of that into their workplace, do you notice you're getting a little more headway with people who are younger in a management position? Because I'm making an assumption, I'm just curious if it's accurate, because like you were saying, we were brought up, that getting help and support was not okay, but the reality is the younger generations, it's becoming more accepted, and personal growth is encouraged. Personal growth is popular, and they talk about everyone's going to therapy, and it's in a different mindset. So it almost feels like you're at this beautiful point in time as the other generations start to come up and be much more willing and open to the work that you're doing to change and radically change the workforce. So are you noticing more reception from the younger management people that you approach, or are you not seeing much
That
of a
really
difference?
is an interesting question, because I don't know that I could pinpoint if it was a certain, type or age range of person that is more open to this style of, or this approach. And I call it my play to win approach, by the way. Because, there's certainly in some mindset. I mean, I worked with some younger people in my previous company that were very much by the book, and this is how you rise quickly. So in that sense, no. But I can also think of examples where, yes, absolutely, because of their background, but on the flip side of the coin, it's the same. I've worked with companies where the person has been there forever, but they're just burnt out, and so they're looking for something fresh, and they're looking for that infusion of something to get out of that robot mode, that we become, just like so rigid and just going through the motions, and there's no life in that. There's no zest.
No. And it almost sounds like it's more that, like what you experienced, you got to a point where you're like, I can't stay in the space anymore. I need to create the change. I need to step away. I need to follow my passion, my desire, my intention. And that's going to be happening more and more in the workplace. I mean, we're already seeing that, like you said.
Yeah.
It's a different landscape now since the pandemic.
Oh yeah, it's opened up a lot of new opportunities, actually, and help people see that, we can work differently. We can still accomplish what we came to accomplish, but in a way we never thought of before. And so, hopefully it is, opening some minds to that, but also, you probably spend more time at your job than anywhere else.
Exactly.
Whether you're working from home or not, you're engaged with your work more than probably anything else that's in your life while you're awake. Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying that, if you're not enjoying your work, I mean, why shouldn't you write with a broken pencil? Because it's pointless.
Oh, we are getting our dose of laughter.
Yes,
today.
you are.
We're taking our laughter pill for today.
Good. I love
You
it.
want
Thank
to
you,
hear
Megan.
You want to hear a construction joke?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Actually, I'm sorry. I'm still working on it. Okay, I gave you guys three jokes. They're so easy to remember. You can reuse those.
Good.
Awesome. That's so awesome.
Oh my God.
Well, with every guest we always have 5 rapid questions. So you can be funny or whatever, but whatever comes to mind. So Tia, do you want to take them away?
I will.
I'm so nervous about this. Okay.
Okay. Step into your playful mode.
Okay, I know. I'm
more
like a
playful
depends kind
question.
of person. I don't. Am I gonna have to choose, or what am I? Okay, I'll just go. Okay.
Take a breath. You ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
What's the most prominent mask that you wear?
What? The goofy one, the silly one. Yeah, for sure. That was.
Since you've already
That's
traveled
cool.
the world, and I still want to know more about that. If you could go anywhere in the world, whether you've been there not before or not, where would you go?
I have not been to Italy yet, and that's where my heritage is from. So I would like to go there.
Love it. What is your favorite way to take care of yourself?
Oh, well, that's easy. I love cookies.
What kind of cookie? What's your
What do you
favorite?
say, Tia?
What's your favorite cookie?
Oh, I'm not picky about that. I just don't like crunchy ones. I like soft, warm, anything that's got a lot of goodies in there.
Mm-hmm. Gooey.
I have a major sweet tooth.
Yeah.
That is absolutely how I spoil myself.
So if you have a bucket list or not, what's at the top of that list if you were to have one?
Oh gosh. Well, I want to do a TED Talk. That's like the top of my professional bucket list. But I want to have a game show. These are like career goals, bucket list. It used to be jump out of an airplane. And now it's like, oh my God, why would I ever want to do that? No, thank you. So yeah, I just want to have a game show.
Love
like
that.
a real TV game show.
Well, you're going to have to let us know when the game show starts because
it's gonna happen.
And the very last question is, what is one of the books that has changed your life? I know you mentioned one already.
I did mention one, and I'll give you a second one so I don't repeat myself. A book called Limitless by Jim Quick, Kwik. And it is so fascinating. And it's all about your brain and how your brain works and the words that we use to talk to ourselves and the things we say and how it impacts our behaviors and our beliefs. It is fascinating. It is so cool. Such a great book.
I love anything about the brain is fascinating.
What was his last name?
Quick, Kwik. He's on social media. He's an incredible person. He is known as a child, he was known as the boy with the broken brain. That's what his teacher dubbed him, which is so crazy. And so, I mean, this again, it goes back to the whole the masks we end up wearing. And so now he's the brain guy.
To grow up with that belief that you have a broken brain, that just breaks my heart.
Can you believe that? I know. What is wrong with I mean, if we can walk away from this show today with one thing, I would be the best thing that's happened to someone today, because there's so much negativity and hate and just divide in the world right now. And so let's just go out of our way to make someone smile and make someone feel great today, because that's the kind of world that we want, bring a smile to someone's face.
Well, you've already done that for me, so thank you.
And me as well. Me too. A little laughter. So besides that great piece of advice for today, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Oh gosh, just go to lifebacon.com. That is my website, lifebacon.com. Bacon makes everything better. So that's what we're all about. But you don't like vegans, even vegans love live bacon. So you don't have to actually eat bacon. But I just joined TikTok, people. Okay. And I feel like I'm late to the party. Boy, that is where it's at right now. So I'm getting going on there. So come find me.
On
I have a
TikTok.
podcast called Bacon Radio, and I have a gift that I would like to give your listeners.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So if you are curious where you fall on the fun-o-meter, I have created a fun little quiz that you can take to find out where you land on the fun-o-meter. And then, of course, how to keep moving up, because yeah, life is a game and you have to play to win.
Love
That
it.
is awesome. Oh my God, that's such a great gift. Definitely a unique one. Our listeners have not had the opportunity for that before. So that's a first for today. So, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being with us today. It was absolutely fun and a pleasure to talk, and you're just doing great things in the world, and just keep playing. Keep playing.
Oh, thank you both. It's been a pleasure. And by the way, I don't think I mentioned where to get that funometer. And so I'll give you the link, but
Yes.
I'll also have it available on my website, lifebacon.com.
Yeah,
And we
we'll
will
put
put-
everything in the show notes.
Yep.
Oh, perfect.
Saying the
Great.
Same time.
Yes.
And you
Everything.
guys keep up the good work here too. I love what you're doing. And so, yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for listening. And as always, if you liked or enjoyed what you heard today, please give us a thumbs up or comment, and we'll see you very soon.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you.